Welcome to this episode of the Hive with Us podcast. I have a special guest, Mr. Matt Cavanaugh, and I also have my guest host, Anthony Gayona. Matt Cavanaugh is a podcast host of the Freedom Chasers podcast. He has amazing guests. I think we've kind of rubbed off on a little bit on him. We might talk about it a little bit, but he's jumped up to one episode per day, which is nonsense. I thought we were the only crazy ones to do that, but I think we might have inspired him and pushed him to do that out of talking to me. But it's inspiring to help inspire other people just to create, because I think most people in the world are consumers as a whole. So when you meet other creators that want to create more because you're creating more, I think it's a great synergy that's just created out there in general, just by having conversations and meeting cool people. I actually met him for the first time in Vegas at the Tykes event a few weeks ago, and it was kind of cool meeting some other podcast hosts and just meeting cool people in general at events and stuff like that. So no further ado, we have Anthony and Matt. How you guys doing today?
Great, man. Thanks for the invite.
Man, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always cool to give and take with other podcast hosts, because it puts you change the scenery, you know.
Totally. Yeah, man. And to your point early on, we were at the event together, didn't know each other was going, and ended up, meeting up, connecting. And then we got some great Filipino food and kind of walked away from some of the event for a while because the strategies that we were laying on each other were pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. You started before us and you were launching so many episodes. So, having you on the podcast was a big deal for us, not just because of the content that was created, but because of the strategy. And obviously, before this call, we're throwing strategies back and forth, throwing guests back and forth, just to obviously provide as much value to our audience as possible.
Yeah, it's a definitely cool exchange that doesn't happen very often, but when you come across somebody that's in the same thought process, it really helps out a lot. So Matt, first question I always like asking is how long you been in real estate, and how'd you get into real estate? Because it's a different path for everybody, and I don't know, I kind of fell into it. So what's your story look like?
I'll go super quick. I was a math teacher, was impacting kids, loved it, didn't make enough money to provide for a family and have my wife stay at home. So I left and went in B2B sales. The B2B sales job allowed me to build skills and income. And as a result of building skills, I built the self-confidence that gave me the mindset that I could actually make a business work, so on and so forth. And I was with that job for 3.5 years and then did a little bit of investing on the side. The investing off of one deal made as much as my job made in 1 year. And that kind of allowed me to have the confidence to make the jump. I did have a limiting belief early on that investment was probably just lucky. So I actually went as an agent and I started my business that way. But because of the sales background, I was able to get a lot of clients right away. And so from 2015 till about 2018, I was just churning transactions and building a team. 2018, I switched a little bit, stayed as an agent, still doing agent work, but became heavier and heavier investor focused over the last 4.5 years. And so what happened, the big story for me was in 2018, I bought a triplex. I think I told you about it on a different one of our episodes. Yeah. That triplex, I held it for 2 years and along with another flip, and sold those for a total profit of $330,000. That profit, along with the down payments, went into a purchase in Chicago where these properties were rented by the room. And so the rents on that property when I bought it were $11,300 a month. That was the contract rents. And the only money I had in the deal was my 2 down payments. And so I went from zero equity, we'll call it 100K equity, the down payments, to almost 800,000 in equity and about whatever 11,300 a month is in rents. Now that's not profit. We have some expenses and things and taxes, but that to me was so transformational because it was I had done hundreds of agent transactions, probably 500 to 1,000 if you're counting the team that I had, and I made decent money. But when you're talking about 5 transactions, and in 5 transactions going from zero to I could probably retire on this, it was mind was woken up. And the game was changed.
And that's incredible, dude. So what kind of got you into the investor side of things? Did you meet a mentor or somebody else that was doing it that you just mirrored after?
It's crazy. I'm so glad you asked that question because so I had seen people investing, but I had justified in my mind that it was better to be an agent. I thought by the time I buy the property, I put the money in, I pay the hard money, I pay the taxes on the short-term capital gains, I'm going to make 20 or 30,000 instead of 10. So why do all that work and take all that risk when I could just be making $10,000 like clockwork? And then I have a friend, which is your friend too, Daniel, maybe yours as well, Anthony, named Chris Oriana. And Chris Oriana was just like, hey, Matt, your strategy's wrong. Now, he didn't have the clout to prove it. Like he wasn't some big time investor, but he was just consistently like persistent, like this is the path. So him and I play chess on our phones. Like we talk all the time. We have, we're just buddies. So finally he had told me enough times where I'm like, fine, bro, like just out of fairness to our friendship, I'll just start telling people I'm an investor and stop giving the investor deals away to investors, but just taking them for myself. And literally 5 transactions later, I could stop working if I wanted to. So now funny story and is he still like he does a lot of wholesaling and stuff. And he just told me about a deal he's going to wholesale, but we need to encourage him to actually buy property and hang on to it. Like he's not hanging on to properties, but he was the catalyst. And as a result of that, we ended up going together to Nebraska to a conference, and I've done quite a few since then. But Chris Oriana is my big person. I want to say thank you to for helping me switch directions.
Man, I love that story, man. That's kind of like the story that we all hope for when we get into real estate. You know, like I'm going to make it big. I saw the YouTube videos.
Right.
You struggle for 3 to 5 years. So, man, congrats to you to hitting that stride and making it happen quickly.
Thank you. It's become a big passion of mine to give that information. And it's really interesting because the internet world is full of get rich quick schemes. And so people are on their guard. But like I'm looking at this and going like, well, I could teach you how to be an agent and how to spend your entire career trying to make it work. Or I could teach you this other strategy, and you guys are doing no different, right? You guys are doing 7-figure land deals, right? Multiple 6-figure land deals. And so it's like the only difference between what you guys are doing now and what we're doing is the strategy and some basic skills that we put together. I mean, Daniel, I remember when you were on our podcast, like your first 2 single family deals like blew up, and then you went into land and killed it. Like, so that's a big thing that I want to do is I want to continue to grow and succeed, but I want to give back. So I want to save people 10, 20, 30 years on their journey by giving them better strategies to cut straight to the financial freedom.
I'm really glad you mentioned that too, because like I'm big on Twitter, and I've been talking a lot of crap on Twitter lately. It's one of those things where like I do it because I want you to show there's other strategies, and like people, and this is for everybody here. If this is you, like I'm not poking at you directly, but like if you think flipping is the only way to make money, if you think being a Airbnb host is the only way to make money, like there's better ways to do those things and make better profit with less work. And the only thing is like you might be the best land flipper in your backyard and you're known for that, but like you're stuck in that one position because you're not looking outside, and you might have it figured out, but there's other things that may work out better that you're going to look at it and you're like, man, I should have listened. I should have like got out of my own way and listened to other people's feedback, because like it's one, and this is where I go back to Twitter. I kind of poke at people a lot because I want them to hopefully
think outside the box. Yeah.
Hopefully yes. I think outside the box, and they're like, what'd you mean by that? Can you elaborate a little bit more? I'm looking for people that ask that question, because if you're not thinking in that way, this is how me and Anthony, we've grown in so much in 4 years. You've been in real estate longer than both of us. But it's one of those things where like me and Anthony, we're not afraid to ask a stupid question. And I think that's what separates us to get us faster where we wanted to go, is we're not afraid to like, hey, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? I've never heard that before. What does that even mean? Can you like expand on that? And it's one of those things where we've grown so much in the real estate space in such a short time that like we have like 20, 30 years of knowledge in 4 years.
100%. And it's only a stupid question once. And once you know it, you're not stupid anymore. So it's like, hey, if it's a stupid question, you don't answer it, you're going to stay stupid. So you might as well ask it and get smart, move on. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think what Daniel's doing is genius on Twitter, because it's people speaking their truth and they're giving great information, right? They have these bullet points and these key principles, and they're actually really, really good. But also, I think what Daniel's doing is he's exposing that's like, hey, you're not looking at the other side of the coin. There's something very important that we're missing here. So even though you are speaking your truth and it is valuable information, there's always other little things that you can, different perspective that you can take. And I'm imagining that people might take him a little bit offensive with some of the things he says, but then he just goes ahead and lays out clear examples right underneath the post, and people are like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I was gonna back up a little bit. Something that we covered earlier is like, you want to keep your eyes and your mind open to other opportunities, but also without falling victim to that shiny object.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I feel like what we did in the beginning. We stayed with land, but we checked into apartments and self-storage and, mobile homes. So we still kind of kept veering off the path, just making sure that we weren't missing anything. But now that we've really refined it down and just focused on land, and then more specifically bigger land deals, it's been a great, I guess, homecoming, right? Because we went full circle. We checked everything else out, but we found our niche, something that we're really good at, and it's very, very niche specific. It's kind of a strategy nobody's paying attention to again, but we love it. We're comfortable here. And I think you got to go through that. You got to check everything, push all the buttons, see what happens, and then really, really niche down real hard into one strategy and then just run it over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And like that was for me. I mean, I knew, so that usually like investors will say, invest in what you know. So for me, I knew single family. If you don't know anything, invest in what you like, because then you're going to be most likely to want to be curious to know, and then you'll learn. And once you know, then you can invest. And then for me, now that I've acquired enough property, my main focus now is really, really doing what I love, which is exactly what we're doing right now, having conversations. And so for me, if I'm giving advice to somebody, like, I don't care what strategy they do. Like if they're coming to me for advice or for coaching, like I'm not going to tell them what strategy to do. I'm just going to say, hey, like I'm more focused on their criteria, the timeline, the path, et cetera. Because as you guys know, there's 7-figure deals in almost every asset class.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not. I mean, even in single family, you could do $1 million deals. Single family, multifamily for sure, mobile home park, storage, land, et cetera. If you make 7 figures on a deal, you do the right tax stuff, and then you go ahead and invest it into cash flowing assets, any one particular deal will retire you. If your definition of retirement is $10,000 a month, which most people's are.
Yeah, that'll carry you a long way. Yeah, we do know a couple people out in Florida that are doing nothing but 7-figure and multiple 7-figure houses. Yeah, it's a pretty good living. So, like you said, right? Yeah, you can kind of touch it anywhere.
Exactly, and your guys' deal that you told me about on the show was like basically you're creating a 7-figure profit, but you're not taking the profit up front. You're taking it in payments over 10 to 30 years, and it's like that's the dream. Like you're doing a deal, and you could live off that deal for 10 years. Or 30 years. Like that's just like that. That's what I want to get out to people. That's why I'm so excited that, that we're doing this together. Is it's like a deal can get you retired. 5 or 10 should be like no problem if you're focused in the right direction. And it's like, how long does it take to find 5 deals? Particularly if you have people hunting for you.
Yeah, 100%, man. One thing I really want to hit on too is I think a lot of people, you mentioned early on, was surrounding yourself with like-minded, and you mentioned Chris, which Chris is a friend of mine. I've known Chris for 3 years. Being by yourself sucks, and entrepreneurship is like you may feel like you're by yourself a lot of the time, but the thing is there's people out there doing the same thing you are. You just got to find your circle, and I think it's really, really cool that finding your circle kind of pushed you into a new envelope where you kind of created a new version of yourself, which is always amazing. I love hearing that. I love hearing that side of it.
Yeah, it's like Men in Black. Like you guys probably watched that movie. So Men in Black, you get the locker, and then you discover at the end of the movie there's a bigger locker, and it's like, like I grew up in a maybe middle class-ish like family, and so people that were worth $1 million to $5 million, like that was it. Like you knew the billionaires existed, but until I got in the groups where the million is the ante, I didn't realize like how many successful people out there were like doing how many things. Like it's wild. Like so yeah, it's everything. Like if everybody for the most part you're hanging around is doing crazy stuff, like I feel so small, so small. Like if you put any of our incomes into a percentage net worth calculator, not net worth, but like what percentage of the population are we? Like, are we top 5%, top 1%? And then take our net worth, given our age, like we're going to be in the top 5, if not the top 1%. And yet the groups that I'm going around makes me feel like I'm the top 99%. Like I've got 99% to go.
Yeah, at the Tykes event, walking into that room, I felt like I was pretty seasoned. I qualified to be here, and then they say, "Oh, we're doing $100 million sky rise in LA." I'm like, I guess there's levels of this shit.
That's exactly right. Right? They raised $2.5 million in sold Tyke coins in 1 or 2 days, right? If not 1 or 2 hours, and yeah, it just shows like, and that's one of the things I love about real estate and business is like, obviously we all have different reasons for making money and the charitable things we want to do with it. But like, it kind of is a scorecard for the amount of skills that you have and the strategies that you use. And so it gives, you can complain about the amount of money you have, or you can realize like, hey, this is a reflection of the action that I'm taking, or the skills that I have, or the strategies I have, or the relationships that I have.
That's what I love about this business. I think more than anything is the relationships. So you are where you are. Like I said, even if you are that top 2 or 1%, right? But then, like you said, there's different levels. So even us, we're like right now, our average deal had been like maybe 1 to 2 million, somewhere in that sweet spot. We just sent out a contract for 3.5. We're negotiations for one for 6.5. So it's like now we're starting to understand that it's all the same game, and as long as there's a clear understanding on both sides of the coin between the buyer and seller, and we have a clear strategy, it's like the rest is history, because it's the same blueprint that we're using, and we could just stamp it on anything. So now we're gonna go look at one that's 15 million. The guy says, I'll fly you out in a helicopter so you guys can come see it. So it's like, all right, it's kind of cool, because even though we've never been there, but what we're doing is we're not relying on our own intelligence or knowledge. We're also always reaching out to people that are ahead of us to say, hey, I have something in the pipe that I'm just not too sure. I can probably fund half of it, maybe a quarter of it, but I don't know what to do with the rest. And so this guy says, yeah, I have 2 or 3 people we can call if it makes sense on paper. So slowly but surely, we're building out the network. We're building out the new skill set, and then going into that comfort zone, man. I could see us someday trying to take down $100 million land deal, right? It sounds weird now, but it's coming,
Absolutely love it, man. Yeah. And that's exactly it. It doesn't matter what asset class you're in. It all works. They've all got those layers to them. It's just, that's love it.
Let's make a pivot to the podcast, man. Tell us a little about your podcast. When did you launch it? How many episodes you're in? Who's been your favorite guest?
We recorded, we probably recorded 150 plus episodes now. We've released close to 100.
Wow.
We started recording in May. We started launching in October. So I haven't told you this, Daniel, but we're about ready to put it on, even more force. So instead of releasing 7, now Tim is recording 7 how-tos, and we're going to record one together every single day. So we're going to record between 19 and 21 episodes a week starting today, because I got back from Mexico this weekend. So if we actually are able to follow through, in the next 12 months, we're going to do what is like 1,000 episodes or something like that. So we love it. Now, who's our favorite guest? That is like impossible to answer. Like, you have to get more specific. So like, I love deep stories. So we have people that are overcoming just insane things from like an emotional standpoint, which is like meaningful to me because I was in the ministry. And then we have guys who've done insane things. Like, we mention you guys a lot because like the appeal of like a quick 7-figure profit is amazing. So, gosh, like maybe I could answer top 5 or 10. I don't know. That's brutal. Like, our guests are awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we had to go back and pick out our top 1, like, I don't know, man. Yeah, there's been a lot of good connections made.
So many. And then there's like, okay, the episode itself, like, was it the content? Was it the connection? Was it the fact that like there's been podcast guests that I have that we've done stuff together outside of the podcast? There's guys like you, Daniel, like we actually like, got to eat food in an event together. So it's just impossible. Like, what I'll say is like, it'll be hard to imagine that 90% of my friends group is not somehow involved in the podcast within 2 or 3 years, because it's like, I'm constantly meeting every single day. I'm meeting people that are just unbelievable and driven and kind and all of the things that you want in friendships, and guys like you that are willing to tell me where I'm falling short. Like, you're like, hey, Matt, like, look at the branding that we have. Look at the branding that you have, right? Like, level up. And like, in a lot of like non-business friendships, like, they're too scared to tell you that kind of stuff, but in our type of friendships, like, there's no holding back, because we take it from a place of thankfulness and gratitude. And
yep. I want to say I've had 2 conversations this past week where the first thing I said to these people is like, I need your advice.
Yep.
Yeah. So no matter where you are on the playing field, you can always make that phone call or multiple phone calls where you say, hey, I need you to help me level up.
Yes. And that's like most of the population out there, like, they're scared to like make themselves vulnerable because they've attached their identity to succeeding, and failure is like critical. Like, I don't know if you guys know Jordan Peterson, but he mentioned something that just like hit me deep. And he goes, the amount of maturity that someone has is the amount of truth that they're willing to tolerate. And I was like, oh, dang. But I think that a lot of successful business people have a level of maturity because they are willing to digest so much unfavorable truth about themselves and take action on it.
Ooh, digest unfavorable truths about yourself. That's powerful, man. Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be a video right there.
Yeah, buddy.
That's one of the coolest part about podcasting, because I really wanted to get that question out of you, because I know you got something good that I had never heard before that you're holding back on.
Yeah. I probably got a bunch of things. If you ask the right questions, it'll like pop out. Like,
No, that's why I asked that loaded question, because I'm like, I'm gonna pull something out of this. I don't know what I'm gonna pull, but it's gonna be good. And that was it right there. That was one of them. And that's the dopest thing about podcasting, man. You don't know what you're gonna get from each guest, and sometimes it's like you said, it's a cool experience, a cool story, it's a life lesson. It's a lesson that you don't have to go through.
totally.
And some of them are painful.
Really, really, really painful. Like, yeah, like, okay, so let's talk software, right? I spent multiple six figures in software. You guys use Go High Level, built on top of it, right? Like, you guys did it right. I have a couple other guys that actually paid to build software that did it better. Like, if I would have had conversations with the right guys before I started, I would have been able to take those six figures and put them into a much, much better direction. Like, you know, ignorance, whether you don't take people's advice or you don't ask, can be really, really, really expensive. Like, crazy expensive.
Yep. And the sad part is that you might lose some money. You can replace the money, but you can't replace the time lost.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So something that would have took you, it had, like, let's say it has a 2 to 5 year learning curve, and you could have solved that in 1 to 2 phone calls.
100%.
Yeah. I'm literally really glad you mentioned this. We mentioned this offline, and I want to bring it up on the call. But what is time savings by education worth?
Dude, it is unreal. Like, so you can look at savings in multiple ways. You can look at savings as a sense of like, it's not costing me, right? Like, I don't have to pay for it. Then you can look at it like the cost the mistakes would have. Or then you could look at it as more money earned. Or then you could look at it as time saved. Like, or you could look at it as trajectory. So like there's probably even more ways. But one of my philosophies now, because the deals that I've bought, the 5 deals that took me from zero to financial freedom, or at least we would call it financial independence, I didn't find any of those deals. None of them. And so like my philosophy as a person working a W-2 with the right strategy can go from zero to financially free, where the only work they're making is making connections and making decisions. They don't have to learn how to find a deal. They don't have to learn how to even really analyze the deal that well, because the information can be put in front of them by professionals. Every single part of the process can be done by a professional all the way through. So they're just building what I would consider 9 or 10 key relationships and then making 1 or 2 key decisions. And they can go from zero to financially free, not using any of their own money, not using almost any of their own time, not using almost any of their own knowledge because they don't have any knowledge. So that's the model that I'm working on, like trying to perfect. Like, I've done it for myself. I'm now starting to teach others, but I want to perfect it to where like you could take a 6-year-old and the 6-year-old could build a retirable amount of income, so that it could not be argued that, you know, and not even my 6-year-old, because then they would say it's Matt, it's your 6-year-old, like they your genetics, right?
They're forced to produce at a young age.
And like you got them in the sweatshop of the Cavanaugh house, you know, and they're like writing offers. Yeah. So that's the thing is I love philosophy and I love thinking. Like, my degree was in math, but my love was philosophy. But as a philosophy major, like in college, you know, that's not going to pay the bills. And so, but that has not left me. And so I think there's not enough philosophical and strategical thought when it comes to the constructing of the path. And so, you know, and for me, some of the path that I have, I had to stumble upon it, and some was carefully crafted, but you know, once you discover it, you can't unsee it. And so if we could save 100,000 people 20 years of misery, because 85%, the polls are showing 85% people are unhappy with their job. Like you asked, what's the cost? What's it worth to be unhappy for 20 years? Like, what dollar amount would somebody pay if they could push a button and not be in a job they didn't want for 20 years? I don't know.
Man, I'll tell you right along the lines of that. I was in construction for almost 20 years. And I remember, dude, working 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, and coming home tired, like so tired that you need a daily beer just to be able to show up to work. And I'm like, man, there has to be a way. There's some way out there. There's something that I'm missing, So if I could have had my fairy godmother, give me some information 20 years ago and taught me about real estate or land investing, like, man, the whole course of my life would have been different. Everything, and the people around me, my family, my friends, like, it would have just been a whole different run. So now having the information, I do feel that same responsibility. Like, whether somebody does a deal with us or not, I got to get this information into other people's hands. Yeah.
Like what happens to the college and the university system took guys like you, have a proven track record of doing deals and making money, or guys like me, right? And they're like, hey, instead of giving them a loan so they could spend $160,000 in a college, which has no guarantee of a job, often doesn't produce a job. And if it does, it's not pursued. And they'll allow us to go to the University of Hive Mind or the University of Freedom Chasers. Like, what would that person's life look like after 4 years, right? I mean, the college system gets them to work and do all day learning and all day assignments, right? If they did all day learning with you guys and all day assignments, like they're writing offers all day long, what does their life look like 4 years later? Like, if they're not completely and utterly, financially free?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah, it would lead to a stronger economy.
100%. Like, absolutely 100%. Like, and we used to be on an apprenticeship model a lot more than we are now. Like, the accrediting system, has taken away a lot of the ability of, entrepreneurs and visionaries from the ability to, one, get the talent they need to scale, but two, it deprives the people that are in the college system of actually pursuing people that are doing some pretty crazy things. Like in college, generally, you're learning from people that haven't done it. You're learning from people that just went to school, learned it, and are teaching it, but weren't out in the field.
They didn't master the field. Yeah. They just know about it.
They're teaching from the book.
Yeah.
That was laid out for them.
Can you imagine learning what you guys know from a real estate agent certification class? Like, it would never happen. Like, there's no real estate agent certification classes that teaches you all the strategies you need to find, hunt down, acquire deals, and make 6-7 figure profits on a regular basis. Like, it's not out there.
You got to be out on the field, man. It's like, I always use the example of fighting because I was a boxer when I was a kid. It's like you can't read enough books to learn how to fight, right? You just got to get punched in the face.
That's it. That's it. And that should be part of the education process, like teaching people, like the coach mentality, right? Like, you're going to get hit in the face, like, man up, woman up, like, go back, get your licks. Because you got hit in the face, it doesn't mean you're a loser. Keep going.
That's this business in a nutshell. I mean, you like I said, you watch the YouTube videos, you hear from the guru, you're ready to go make some money, and it hurts, man. It's a lot of, lots and lots of labor with no return on investment, lots of being told no, lots of being cussed out and hung up on. And it's like the people that do have the thick skin, they go on to be, great performers. And the other ones, they roll off into something else. And the next thing you know, they have an Amazon drop shipping. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm just saying they completely skip out from the real estate stuff because they're tired of getting punched in the face.
Totally. Yeah.
They're doing solar.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of solar salespeople out there. And for the ones that are doing it with everything they've got and they're killing it, kudos.
There's like we said, there's magic in everything. Right. Yeah. But I think that the main thing is to build up that thick skin and build up that experience and, like you said, take those shots and be able to perform and to continue to move forward even when it hurts. I think we can see that resilience in people. Like, as soon as we start training somebody who's new, you already know who's going to kind of pop through. They're like that guy that, like, hey, I got hung up on 400 times today and cussed out 28 times. I'll see you guys in the morning. Like, oh, that guy's going to make it.
Exactly.
The other ones where they get cussed out and then they're afraid to pick up the phone this time. They're afraid to do prospecting. Like, ooh, man, if they got the feelings hurt already, I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain it for the next 6 to 9 months or a year until you get some momentum.
Yeah. And I've been in the B2B sales world where we did prospecting. And then when I was an agent, I prospected a lot. So, I probably made, I don't know, multiple six figures in terms of number of dials, hundreds of thousands of phone calls. And when we call expired, we got cussed out fairly frequently. And it was interesting. Like, for me, for anybody out there that might be doing calls that might be struggling, like, one of the things that really helped me was the way that I personified the person on the other end. Like, when they're cussing me out, like, I would picture them with like a really red face and with them like spitting out of their mouth when they're talking. And I made the personification so big that I was literally laughing inside. And there was even times I couldn't control it. I just started laughing on the phone, which was not ideal. But like, it was one of those things where, like, most of the time people have a hard time because it's like they're feeling rejected, as opposed to, like, literally it's not your problem that this person's going to blow up at the 2-second problem, So for anybody out there that's in sales, like, that's like step number one is like, just make sure that anybody's opinions or frustrations, like that's their decision. You stay balanced and keep going.
I think I have a lot of compassion for those people. The way that I see it is like something's going on in their life that already they're in a position to explode, right? At the drop of a hat. So what else is going on in their life? They must have a lot of things going on. There's a lot of pain already built up. So there's no way I could be mad at that person or offended by that person. I feel more compassion to them. Nothing against me. Like, man, I don't know what's going on with that guy, but I feel bad for him.
So I got a question for you guys. So you guys are salespeople. I'm a salesperson. My wife and I have debates on this. So I'm curious to get your take. So I am generally harder on salespeople. My rationale is, hey, if they're good or they're going to be good, I'm helping them. And my wife is like, hey, professional courtesy. Like, you should be nice to these people. Like, you're a salesperson. Like, what is your guys' mode of action when someone calls you and is trying to sell you something?
I'll go first in this one. I give them pointers. Like, I went to the mall the other day and I was shopping with my wife, and the dude's like, he's like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, say with your chest. And I'm like, be confident, understand what you're selling. And I'm like giving him pointers. He's like, oh, you're in sales? I'm like, yeah, I'm in sales. He's like, well, how do you think I did? I'm like, dude, you gotta be confident in what you're doing. I can sense you're not confident. As rule number one, be confident, understand what you're doing. So for me, I'm a little bit more compassionate because good salespeople have been through the fire, and they've been punched in the face a lot of times. And sometimes, like, I'll punch them in the face, but it's gentle.
Exactly. Let me tell you all the ways you can improve.
I think it's my take.
I've done both too, man. When they call me, sometimes I'm just like very like, what is this call about? Oh, a sales call? Yeah, man, I'm super busy right now. I don't have time, brother, man. I appreciate you anyway. Still nice, but like you know what time it is. This call is over.
100%.
And then also I've done what Daniel has done too. I'm like, did you just third party story me? Did you just found me? Come on, man.
Yes. Yes. You're just calling out the labels.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I get it, man. You're new. Keep on doing it. You sound good on the phone. Have a good day, man. I gotta go.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I always hang up with like those dang marketers.
Right. And then you go back to your marketing gig.
Yeah.
Finding properties. Yeah.
So it was one of this is a side story for me and Anthony. We were in Vegas and we went to Fremont, and those the street hustlers selling nothing. It was hilarious.
Selling nothing. Okay, so describe this more.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump into the story. So we walk up and they're in the middle of their thing, and Anthony wants to go. He walked off, so I'm just watching these guys. And they start music. They start the music, and everybody doesn't know Fremont is people. They're it's like street entertainers. They come in and do whatever. So like they start up, four of them get in formation. They start playing the music. Like they're gonna dance. Crowd starts forming. Nothing happens, and then they break up. We need everybody to come in. We can't block the pathway. They never dance.
Yeah, they're there stretching, they're bending down, they're warming up, they're taking their jacket off, the music's blasting. They're like, oh, come on, gather around, everybody, gather around. So this big crowd forms. I'm like, okay, let's get ready. Hey guys, we don't work for free. Make sure you tip. They start passing the tip bag around. People are dropping dollars in. There's really nothing that happens, man. There's no performance sometimes. Like they might do one or two things at the end, like do some kind of crazy flip or something, and that's it. But all day long, they're just hustling entire crowds for money.
All talk, no show.
Over and over again, dude. Once that one's over, they're quiet for 10 or 15 minutes, and then bam, you hear it blast. The music starts blasting again. All right, everybody, get ready. And I'm telling you, man, they're back there like this and like this, and like you're like, dang, these guys are about to go off. They don't do anything.
That's so funny.
And they're just
so all of us non-dancers. That's the way we can make money if we get in trouble.
Yeah, straight to TikTok or Fremont Street.
Right. That's so funny.
It's fun. It's just interesting to see like. They sold that whole crowd, but they didn't sell them anything.
Right.
It was very entertaining to see because I'm like, man, if me and Anthony spent a day with that person and taught the real estate game, they'd be dangerous.
Oh, dangerous. Like, think of all the talented professionals out there that if they know what we know, when they have,
they'd be so dangerous. And I think it comes down to the point where, like, if you can sell smoke, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, we actually have a great product. We have great relationships being formed. Great knowledge. I mean, so you're offering a lot for sale, and then there's people like that are just good at selling air.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like when you combine those two things, it gets crazy. I mean, like you guys are selling a high-end product. We're selling a high-end product. So we could give somebody a $25,000 product and help them make 100 to 200K. You know, these guys, I mean, could probably sell 5 or 10 times more than we could in the same space.
So I want to talk about this, and I learned about this when we were in Vegas. But Mr. Matt here has a cool business model, which I really want to dig into. You're a hired gun.
Yeah.
Hired gun. So have you launched this yet? And where can people learn about this? Because I really want to talk about this.
Yeah, so they can go to coaching.freedomchaserspodcast.com, and then they can book a call. And then what we'll do is we'll do a call with them. It's absolutely free. We'll give them strategies on that call. And then that's our kind of way of, I would never want to sell anything to anybody that isn't going to be a huge, humongous benefit to them. So if they don't have the finances, or they're just not in a position, or it's not the right fit, I'm going to show them all the free resources that we have, the 21 podcasts that we do a week and all this type of stuff. If they're already doing some things and they've got some money and they I could see they're going to be able to make it happen, then we could talk about this high-end product. But basically what I've done for a long time, for years now, is I've closed listings for my team in all these different states. So my sales skills have been very, very well honed. And my favorite thing to do is negotiate, buying properties for a lot less than they're worth. And so people in my pod that I've been in, like they started having me do it. And so like I'd hop on one call and close the deal, that type of thing. Like I'm not 100% like any salesperson's not, but bottom line is I feel very confident that I'm better than probably 90% of the reps out there based on the number of reps that I have and experience. So the product that we're essentially offering is, one, we can provide all the strategies that we've learned from hundreds of interviews with multimillionaire real estate investors. Plus, as they get into these deals that they're finding, we could help them structure their buying criteria, help them deliver on the negotiations. And as you guys know, like there are a lot of ways to buy a property. You could buy a property with cash. You could buy a property creatively, with funding, with private money. And the way that you buy it can make such a difference in how many you can do and the profit that you get. So basically, we're accepting a retainer fee for a period of time, year to 3 years, depending on the program. And then they have access to us. And so as a result, we help them negotiate their deals, we help them with the strategies, and we connect them to our contacts.
Man, I love that business model. That's dope.
Nice,
and
man.
The reason why I like this too, because I have my own hired gun. It's this guy.
Yeah, right. And that's usually how it works, right? It's partnerships.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, okay, not obviously you guys got a great thing going on, but like if someone like, hey, I don't want to have to give up 50% of the equity of my company, like, hey, I could hire this guy for X amount. It just depends on how much volume they're doing. If they do one deal, we probably will make them a lot more than what they spent. But if they do 10, we'll make them hundreds of thousands of dollars more than they spent.
Yeah, and then this goes down to the point where Anthony like talks about this a lot too, is that if you are a sales closer and you do that for a living, you are a dangerous person. And this is where Anthony's down to the point where like Anthony's cold calling some of our clients like on the fly because he likes closing. And like I think it's and this is one of the crazy things about that is that if you're put in that position more often, you become more dangerous. We're like now we're chasing these bigger deals. Anthony's like, I'll get on the phone with any one of those because now I know what to ask, I know what to say, and I can close these bigger deals because I've done it multiple times. I think it's the exercise of actually talking to those people that gives you the benefit of taking that to the next level whenever you are talking to those high level people. And you can talk to anybody at that point if you can close bigger deals.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, especially for the ethical salespeople out there, that we're not going to buy a property where the seller isn't completely understanding of what's going on. They want to sell on those terms. You know, when everything is ethical and above board, like it's a great feeling, and you're helping people move on, make decisions that they want to make anyway. So like, I really do see the value in salesmanship. Like, I mean, like you guys are doing land. How many people would just not sell their land if you guys didn't come along? Because it had been sitting for months. Like, so it's cool. You know, a lot of people have sales resistance, but it's like without salespeople in the world, a lot of people's lives would be a lot worse.
I love that you said that, man, because I really do love what I do, and I think it's honorable, and I feel proud, you know, of what I do. We don't use any kind of weird, shady sales tactics. A lot of these big land deals, especially if they're listed, they're never moving, man. You know, there's nobody walking around scribbling checks for $2 and $3 million. That's just not reality. You know, it's going to take probably years for that stuff to move. and we'll come in and move it in 90 days, right? So, as far as being ethical is concerned, like in the beginning, like any other wholesaler, we're like, I don't know what to say to this guy. It's just so I can get the contract and flip it. And now we've refined our pitch, right? And the last several pitches that I've done now has just been that, I give the whole entire strategy to the agent from start to finish, exactly how the play is going to run, A to Z, with no holes in it. And we even added it to our back end paperwork now. So it's like the most transparent we've ever been. And with that, I found that it's easier to close that way by laying it all on the table.
100%.
Funniest thing ever.
Exactly. It's the confidence is what leads to the closing. The transparency makes it even more likely. I think that's where people get it confused. Like, oh, I got to like fudge this or obscure this. It's like the reason they're not contract. Exactly. The reason they're not closing with you is because you're not confident. The second that you display the unwavering confidence, they're going to want to do business with you. And then you just have to give them the transparency and the information they need so there's no hurdles. Well, and you guys, like, so we were talking while I was in Mexico a few days ago, like we have a listing that has had some trouble, because the problems with the property are more than most buyers want to handle. So we're potentially going to maybe be able to work something out where we can solve their problem. Like that's the cool thing is that generally like good companies solve problems better than other companies can solve them. And when you're working either because you're the product or you're working for a company that's better than other companies in at least in innovation, the sales process becomes so easy because it's like that person is unserved without you.
Dude, I love that you said that too. Yeah. I talked about that on one of our recent mastermind calls. I said, like, if I don't get the deal with that seller, I feel like I let them down because they could have experienced working with our company.
Yep.
We could have had so much value. Like we're bringing so much to the table that I genuinely feel bad for them for not going with us because we were about to show them something amazing. And I feel that, man. And recently what we've done now on our coaching calls is we're having people like bring their properties and bring their phone numbers. As long as the deal's vet out, we'll go over it quickly. And then I'm just calling them all right there live on the spot so people can hear that. But yeah, like I said, it's been a really cool transition. And the more transparent we've become, like you said, that your confidence goes up because now you're telling like, hey, here's exactly what I'm going to do. And there's no fluff and there's no hype. And yeah, they hear it on the other end of the phone. Like, man, that sounds good. So I'm like, dang, if I would have known it was that easy, it would have started there. Right. But you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. You just get in the field and keep rocking. And then the next thing you know, you're humming.
Yeah. You see that question all the time everywhere is like, is wholesaling ethical? And I'm like, man, these guys must be doing it wrong if they feel guilty about what they're doing.
Yep. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stigmas in the world, right? There's stigmas around making money. And that's what's so interesting is like people, and I mean, like the internet world's, there's a lot of trolls out there. There's a lot of haters. Like, they have to work really, 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 really hard in really tough jobs to make $70,000 a year. And you're out there doing $300K, $1 million on a single deal where you spent 10 hours. And it's hard for them to comprehend why that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to hurt some feelings because I was that guy, killing myself. Like I said, blood on my hands, you know what I mean? Literally to try to make 100 grand a year, 80 grand a year.
Yeah.
What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with? I know we already got one earlier, which is amazing, but I'm trying to get another one for you.
Oh, dude, I can give you quotes for days. I just got a call. Yeah, I just got off a call with Shane McGraw, great person. He was on our podcast. We've been chatting a lot this weekend. He said more value to more people in less time. That's his motto. So I just resonated that super, super deeply. For me, like if we're talking about personal philosophies, like I believe like that people should be doing what they're naturally good at, what they're naturally passionate about, and what their mission statement is all at once, and should not at all at any point veer from that. So a lot of people will do one of those three things, maybe two, but like the power, the impact, the feelings you get when you're doing something you're naturally good at, like that also pays really well, that you're passionate about, but it's serving a mission. So like when I wake up in the morning, one of the things I do in my morning routine is I think about who's the person that I'm trying to help. What happens in 30 years if I don't do the activities I'm supposed to do today? Who's still working that terrible job and who's miserable? Like, and I think about myself when I was there. I think about the stress that I had. Like, I think about the decision that I had to make between ordering pizza on a Friday night or running our AC for the next week because we didn't have enough money to do both. Like I think about those moments and go, hey, if I don't do this, so there's an element of mission behind it. It pays really well and I love it. Like my life, when I compare how I felt about my life in 2009 when I was working compared to 2023, it's a completely different world. So I know that's not a quote, but
that's such a big mission. And I think that's you have to find a really, really big why to do this for fun.
well, dude, I mean, think about it. Like, think about the amount of work you guys do. Like, we're doing 21 shows now. Like, we're working 50 to 60 hours a week. Like, right now, relatively unpaid, right? Yeah, we make money here. We do a deal here and so on and so forth. But when you think about the skill sets you have, the skill sets we have, the podcast side of the business is relatively for free comparatively. You know, there's going to be some huge multi-7-figure payoff in the end and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, like, if you're not doing it because you love it and you love people, like, it's a rough road.
So for everybody listening to this episode, we do it because we love it and we like providing valuable information. So definitely go check the Freedom Chasers podcast and definitely check out more episodes of the Hive with Us podcast because we don't get paid, at least not right now, for this.
That's it. That's it, man.
Yeah. My jump off was real estate disruptors, man. You know, shout out to Steve Chang. Yeah, I mean, I knew nothing. I'm like sitting alone in my apartment, like, man, trying to just figure it out. And I episode after episode after episode, nothing was catching on. Nothing was catching on. And I was a woman that he was interviewing. Sorry, I forgot her name now. But that's the light bulb just came on in one episode when she said that she was struggling in her business. She said, I noticed that every time I spent more on marketing, that my business improved. And that was like her main epiphany she had. And so I had a simultaneous epiphany. I was like, that's it. I'm a marketing guy. I've been doing marketing for 15 years. I just got to turn the lead flow all the way up. You know, and so that became my goal, and that's when things changed.
Love it, brother. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. I mean, we're kindred spirits, man. As salespeople, it's not many people want to do it and can do it. So, love it.
Yeah. Awesome. It's creators going to create, consumers are going to consume, and creators are going to create,
and haters are going to hate, baby.
Hate. Where can people find you online? This has been such a great episode. I think we'll have to bring you on again. I don't even. It's been almost 50 minutes and doesn't even feel like it.
Dude, it's just so fun. Yes, people can find me Freedom Chasers podcast on YouTube, on Apple Podcast. They can find me at Linktree/Freedom Chasers podcasters or Matt Cavanaugh on Facebook. Matt Cavi with 2 V's and a Y on Instagram.
There you go. Go follow him. We'll put the links below. Great episode. Please go watch more episodes like this. We did a couple more episodes after this. So if you're seeing this, we have more episodes with Matt. Go check him out. We appreciate him coming on and giving us some time for his valuable day. And go listen to 21 episodes a week. That's crazy. I feel like you just one up me.
I did. Not to push you to do more, but if you did, go ahead.
It benefits everybody involved. But I'm not going to take it personally. I'm going to congratulate you and let you do it. And let you do it for a couple months, and then I'll see what results come of it, and then maybe I'll do it.
Maybe mirror it. Love it, brother.
Thanks for coming on, man. Go ahead, Anthony.
No, I'm just saying thanks for coming on, dude. This is a really, really good one.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy it. See you in the next one. Bye.